1, 2. think we're ready to go. Yeah? Wonderful. Well, I'm Commissioner Raquel Regalado, and we're going to try and fight the rain here. So thank you all for coming out on a Friday. As Julio was reminding me, people have a lot of plans, so we're very happy with this great turnout. Just a little bit of background. I was the school board member for this area for many years, and I knew John very well. I was telling them, you know, every time I came to South Miami High, John was in charge of the tour and told me about his amazing students and his amazing graduates, and how Miami-Dade County Schools needed to invest more in drama and arts education. Board member Regalado. So he would be happy that I was listening. And we really did try. We did. And one thing, and I'm glad that the school board member's office is represented here. For those of you that don't know, the school board is going to be investing in some summer programming this year. That's going to involve arts and drama. John would have loved that. He would have loved that. You know, we used to reminisce about how back in the day, which by the way is when I was a kid, we had summer schools, and those summer programs provided art and music and dance, and you were able to come to school in the summer and get a jump start on the next year. So we're hoping that's one of the things that we love that. So without further ado, the only other thing I have to mention, and we'll go through it when we do the sympathy resolution, is, you know, Miami-Dade County Public Schools has so many dedicated employees. John was one of them. A lifetime of service to our students in public schools, not just as a teacher, but he even did dial a teacher. You know, like it wasn't enough, right? The teaching that he did in schools, he did dial a teacher too. And really, it's a huge loss for our school system, but he will be remembered, and we heard from so many students and so many former students, really a legacy and the center of the wonderful culture that we have here at South Miami High. So with no further ado, I'll ask my dear friend Julio Robaina to come up. For those of you who don't know, he knew me when I was a child, so we literally go back decades.
Is that old?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here today. And again, I want to thank this wonderful, wonderful person, because as soon as we called her and said, look, we really think that there is an individual that really needs to be honored in South Florida, and he's been with this school from the inception, she didn't hesitate. Her and Amanda went right to work. Commissioner, we're so thankful that you took the time to do this. This really means a lot to us, Cobras, alumni, family, and friends, because God knows he's got a lot of friends. So we thank you. And again, we're going to try to be very brief, because John is right here today in our hearts. We all know it. I want to get choked up. Anyway, Molly's here with us. There's a presentation, and I'll let the commissioner tell you, because if you didn't see the signs, they're up, folks. A lot of people have been asking me, are the signs up? They are. This whole stretch of 68th Avenue from Miller to 48th Street is going to be John R. Branstetter Way. Why did we put way? Because John always did it his way, did he not? What a more befitting, way to express it. I want to thank you, Commissioner. There's another alumni here that wants to bring you some very good news. I told him I'd keep it short and sweet, but again, very thankful for what you've done here today. Thanking everybody. Mr. Falco, would you like to say a couple words?
Thank you. First, before I speak for myself, the principal, she wasn't able to be here today, Dr. Coleman Perez, and she asked me to read off some of her words. So here it goes. I apologize for my absence this afternoon, but would be remiss not to have a few words spoken on my behalf. I'm currently attending and supporting our school's track and field event at state championship in Jacksonville. Otherwise, I would be with you to share in this momentous occasion. Thank you to the South Miami High School Alumni Association, State Representative Julio Robaina, and Commissioner Raquel Regalado for making this renaming in honor of an amazing human being, Mr. John Branstetter, possible. Mr. Branstetter was the first community member I met when I arrived at South Miami Senior High a couple years ago. He made it his personal mission that day to meet in person to give me what is now a constant reminder of his dedication and commitment to Cobra country, a Cobra figurine for my office. Mr. Brandstetter took the time to share history and traditions at South Miami Senior, his home away from home for over 40 years. That conversation with Mr. Brandstetter made an impression on me both personally and professionally. As most of you can attest, Mr. Brandstetter, this is when he would say, "Call me John," was a man of character, loyalty, kindness, and above all, one of the best teachers the world was blessed with. He has left his legacy at South Miami Senior in the community of South Miami, and together we'll make his legacy remain as part of our school and the community forever. Although Mr. Brandstetter is no longer physically with us, he is a legend. And we all know legends never die. We will forever love and cherish the memories Mr. Brandstetter created in our school and community. With the remaining of the road today at the intersection of Cobra Lane and Brandstetter's Way, we are at the place Mr. Brandstetter loved, South Miami Senior High, aka Cobra Country. And I just had a few words for myself. My name is Norman Trebelcock. I'm a 1983 graduate, and I have a consulting transportation engineering and planning firm in Naples, Florida. But John Brandstetter was not only a great teacher, but he was a great friend of mine for 40 years. Among the many outstanding teachers at South Miami Senior High, John stood out. His classroom was a place to escape from the harsh realities of teenage life, to feel safe, listen to music, laugh, and learn. His energetic and enthusiastic teaching style was infectious. Students would skip other classes to be in John's class. If you had John as your teacher, you had hit the jackpot. I was also lucky to work for John when I was in high school and college. Saturday mornings were spent helping him garden, which included going with him to Fairchild Garden plant sales to buy rare palms. John's quote was, "You never have too many palms." Well, he changed his tune a few hurricanes later, but John really loved gardening and was proud of the yard that we created back then. We called it the John Stetter Backacre. He also loved his green convertible MG that I'd wash and shine every weekend. It was a fun car for a fun guy. Although he could easily walk to school, he loved driving it on this very road. I was thrilled when he offered to let me take his beloved MG to senior prom. John was also an awesome editor. Who else could bring life to my University of Florida master's paper entitled "Evaluating the Performance of Concrete Made with Recycled Cement Concrete as a Coarse Aggregate in Florida?" John said it was one of his greatest challenges. John deeply cared about all the students, teachers, and staff at South Miami. It was my honor to sit next to him for the car parade tribute past his house this past January. Nick Truby, class of '83, and current South Miami teacher, led the long line of cheering, honking vehicles on his bicycle. Members of the band played, and Principal Coleman Perez and fellow faculty were there to help with the honors. Witnessing the outpouring of love and admiration brought tears to John's eyes. It was a fitting tribute to an amazing, gifted teacher who will be sadly missed by so many. As a person who has designed many miles of roads, being here to witness the naming of this street after John is a true honor. Such an action by the Miami-Dade Commission allows us to appreciate the great value teachers provide to our community. Thank you, Commissioner Regalado, for being the catalyst and who will this love. And yet another way to commemorate John Brandstetter, a scholarship in John's name has been established in affiliation with Florida National International University Foundation. The scholarship will be awarded to South Miami Senior High graduating seniors. We hope to endow it so it lives on in perpetuity, like this street named after him. All contributions are welcome to make the endowment a reality. And Umberto Ferrari from the school is going to put it on the webpage for the school as well as a link to help everybody. So with that, I'd like to turn things over to Molly, his cousin, and it really helped John to the next phase in life. Thank you, Molly.
say a few things, but it's hard to talk about John and just say a few things. So it got longer than I anticipated, but it's all very true. First of all, I'd like to thank you for all coming. I am Molly, John's cousin. I live in Michigan. I've been down here since January to take care of him. And I would like to thank everyone for coming here today. There's so many people that have made this day possible. People that I don't know, people that don't know me, but they know John, and that's good. Commissioner Regalado, Julio Obani, I don't know if I'll say it. Obani. Very good. And many people called the office, her office, emailed and called her office to support this sign. And it is, can you believe that? We would spend hours in our local library trying to find some good books. And he loved books, as you all know. He read constantly. And that's where it all started, back in the Darlington Library. We used to mow our grandmother's yard all the time in the summer, and that was always a really, really chore. But we had a great, great time in that little old town. And we had great, excellent teachers. And many of them lived in our small town. And it reminds me of this community, although you're much bigger, but it does remind me of how you become close to each other. And that's wonderful. And we were very fortunate in that little town to have a great education. Our school was only 3 blocks away, and we would walk to school every day. Our school was very small, and it had all 12 grades in one building. And on Friday nights, we had great basketball games, and John would be at the basketball games. He'd be in the middle of the cheering section, just yelling his heart out. Now, our mascot were Indians, so he would yell for our Indians, much like he probably has done here for the Cobras. He always had great school spirit. I always remember that about him. He always was very focused on our school, and he really, really wanted to support the school. So our lives went in different directions. After high school, John went to pursue his educational degree. I went into nurses training, and then I joined the Army. And so we both kind of were separate for a while. But then we got together again. And I knew he lived in Miami, but I didn't really know where he lived. But I started coming down and visiting him. And I always knew he would be a wonderful teacher. I always knew, because he had a great sense of humor, and he was always a wonderful communicator. He always was. It's just he was born that way. So when we started visiting each other, and I came to Miami, we would spend most times in Macy's. We would go to the Cheesecake Factory, his favorite restaurant, and everybody knew him. I would go any place in Miami. Oh, that was one of my students, and he would always remember who it was and what year it was. We would always run into his students, and he always remembered their names. I was beginning to understand just how much John was admired at South Miami. When I came down here in January, I didn't really know all that. I really didn't, because he never talked about it. He's very humble, did not talk about it. We would talk on the phone many, many times, and here's his classic. When you're talking on the phone and he's ready to hang up, well, I'll let you go now. And that's how the conversation always ended. So I knew he was done talking. So we were cousins first and foremost, and we did enjoy each other's company. He was a very interesting person, and our little town was our beginning to life. We always talked and we always cherished those times together. So in January of this year, my journey with my dear cousin was going to be much different when I came down to visit. It was a true blessing for me to care for him during his last earthly day. It really was. The drive-by was just a wonderful experience and so overwhelming that it made me realize exactly how you feel about him and how he feels about you. I now understand the influence he had on the school and his teachers. He fit right in. He was accepted, and he flourished. He excelled in everything that he did. He loved Miami Senior High School, South Miami Senior High School. It was in his blood. He just loved it. He was given a chance to be himself at the school, and he got to be himself at the school. and people just loved him for being who he was. And for that, I'm very grateful. Well, I finally realized that John was a wonderful person here in South Miami. He's always been a wonderful person to me. We have a great, great life together. And I'm sad that he's gone, and I know that most of you are too. But having a street named after him is a very big deal. Seeing this sign is for the world to see, and for the world to remember John R. Branstetter. I'm proud to say that I am his cousin. I'm proud to say that my maiden name is Branstetter. Our little streets back in Darlington, Indiana, were not named after people like John. They were named after presidents. He lived on Adams Street. Now, we didn't know anything about President Adams. And so the reason for having a street named after somebody like John, people that will drive by in the future and they will see this sign, and I hope that they remember that he was a teacher at South Miami High School. Today, my journey to Miami is done. John Branstetter will live in your hearts and my heart forever. And this is just a wonderful day, and I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. That was very sweet. And you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that about streets. You know, my mother passed away when I was 33. And the Florida legislature, Florida Ravina, named a street where she worked. And I remember when we went to the unveiling, it was so painful. Because when you see that street, for those of you that don't know, under Florida law, you have to have passed away to have a street. So it's actually a bittersweet tribute, but I remember that the folks that were there unveiling it said something very similar to what you said, Molly, which is whenever people drive down the street, if they don't know who that is, they'll Google it. So we have that, and they'll wonder, why is this street named after this person? And it's because there's this amazing connection between the place and the person. I actually, you know, when we first talked about this, I said, you know, John wouldn't have asked for his entire name. He would have said just John. And finally, he said what he mentioned when he hung up. When he was done with your visit, he would say, "Thanks for coming." That's when it ended. That was your cue. So I'm here. We have another resolution here that I'm going to read really quick for Molly. Can I come over here? So I'll read this really quick, and then we'll do the unveiling. All right, yeah, because I got to read it. Whereas Miami-Dade County notes with profound sorrow the passing of John Robert Branstetter, one of the community's most beloved residents, and born on June 2nd, 1947, Mr. Branstetter attended Indiana State University, where he earned a bachelor's and master's degree before becoming a teacher at South Miami Senior High. And throughout his 46-year career as an educator who taught English, drama, and debate, Mr. Branstetter impacted the lives of his students by teaching them life lessons that would be used to become leaders, whose success stories have now become his legacy. And whereas Mr. Branstetter also distinguished himself as a part-time adjunct professor at the University of Miami and hosted the Dial Teacher program on PBS television, which speaks volumes about his loyalty to teaching and inspiring others. And whereas the community mourns the passing, celebrates the life, and will forever treasure the memory of John Robert Branstetter, who will be sorely missed by his family and all those he befriended, we now therefore resolve that I, Daniel Levine Cava, Mayor of Miami-Dade County, Chairman Jose Pepe Diaz, and the members of the Board of County Commissioners, on behalf of the residents of Miami-Dade County, do hereby express our sorrow in the passing of John Robert Branstetter. So here's your official condolences, and then we'll move over to the unveiling of the street. Take a quick picture.
You drive. Go through the
Walk to the
street.
corner, right there, right at the gas station. We're going to pull the plastic off and unveil the signs. Just so you'll know, there's one at the gas station, because this whole street, like I said, is named after him. There's one at the gas station, and those coming off 48th Street, they'll see the other one on the right-hand side. That's where it is. But that's the closest walk is right to that gas station, so we'll go to that one.
Here it is. Here it is. Order stop. I have to go to the street though. Be careful. Go through there. No. Wait, hold on. Go with them because they're still.
Now I know there's not some good people.
Dale porque go with them.
Show me that man was.
Which one?
You know, I was one of those guys.
That's not his car.
Bye, Lourdes.
Oh, yeah, thank you for letting me know.
Go there. No, se le.
He's lost it completely.
Guys, that camera. Be careful. In the back of the.
It's all about the Cobras here. Can we take our masks off for a second so we can see our faces? Yeah, let's show our face.
Nathaniel. Come.
The latest thing.
You have to get a I was vaccinated sticker. Yeah. That's funny. I was vaccinated. It's okay, guys. We got one. Right. We're all done.
Yeah. I already got that shot.
That nice? He would have loved it. Amanda, thank you so much again, honey. Appreciate it. John, look down, John. It's for you, buddy. Esa manteca que debe de nice and if it were a palm, it'd be even more him. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hey, Marta. Let's get the South Miami Cobras under there.
Nick, you need one?
We're getting the Cobra.
Go for it. Get on there. Get on that. Go for it.